Right. What you've got to ask yourself is this. Is there a postscript? Well,
Is there?
right then. Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hello, wherever you are, whenever it is. He says, desperately waving and trying to look friendly. Let's move on there. My name is Paul. I'm also called Knick-Knack. I'm the brains behind Knick-Knack's Daily Teaser, which is a fun daily brain teaser quiz. I write Knick-Knack's Old Peculiar, the world's most monotonously boring blog. It's probably going to be up here somewhere. I also talk about movies. They'll be in the little eye as well. I also talk about TV shows I've been watching as well. I will also try and put my tip jar in there as well, and in the information box underneath. So if you feel generous and enjoy what I do, please give me a tip. I have an expensive Mac that announces the time and needs frequent feeding. Moving rapidly on, just recently I've been watching the third and final series of Star Trek Picard. I've also been watching the third series of For All Mankind, themed around assorted missions to get to Mars. Last night was Sunday the 26th, and last night was when I saw episode 8, The Sands of Ares. I wanted to tell you what I thought. Episode 8, The Sands of Ares, opens up with a shot of Danielle, Chris Marshall, refusing a cup of coffee from Baronov, Alexandra Sokovikov, until he reveals that it's a very posh French coffee with vanilla that he's borrowed from the crew of the Helios. The pair are interrupted, however, when something that feels very much like a landslide shakes the Happy Valley base. Kelly, Cynthia Wu, tries contacting the joint Helios-Soviet base, only to be answered with a lot of resounding static. We also, at the Helios and Soviet base, see the dust storm that's blown up after the base has been buried by a landslide, and we see Russian cosmonaut Alexei Belvy-Shavda, I think it's pronounced, digging his way out of the dirt and desperately trying to find others, whilst equally as desperately trying to send out a mayday. Post-titles, we see President Wilson talking with her ex-lover Pam, only to be interrupted by a Secret Service man. It seems there's problems, serious problems, that she needs to be told about, preferably back at the White House. Problems that include her husband Larry misbehaving, and the little she can do to help free the trapped crews on Mars. That is something she's going to have to leave to the NASA, Soviet, and Helios teams here on Earth. Those teams are going to have to do some seriously unconventional thinking. Now, what did I make of The Sands of Ares? What did I make of this episode? First things first, I've got to praise the performance of Chris Marshall as Danielle Paul. Miss Marshall has once again shown us her skills as an actress. Obviously, she wouldn't be on there if she wasn't good. But she's shown us her character's level-headedness under fire and abilities as a leader. She's organising and dealing with both her crew and the Soviets and a few remaining Helios ones that are there, getting out and about to the various points where they need to be. I also have to praise Joel Kinnaman and Casey W. Johnson as Ed Baldwin and Danny Stevens. We have two trapped, dying men stuck in an airlock. And okay, this sort of thing is something we've seen before. There's an old episode of Enterprise that springs to mind with Trip and Malcolm. There's the Beyond the Sun storyline in very early Doctor Who with William Hartnell and the crew. We've seen it done before, but this is possibly because it's a good story. It's a good little story of a tense story of two trapped people that you've got to race to get free. But it's also very watchable and very well handled. It's well written. And Kinnaman and Stevens handled it better than most. The real performance of the evening, I think, had to be Eddie Gathegi as Dev Aisha. I will get these things right one day, and I swear blind I'm going to apologise to Mr. Gathegi if I've got his name wrong. That's how my computer pronounced it when I said start speaking, I should add. But granted all that, and granted the character is based in part on Steve Jobs, at least in my opinion, but all we've seen now of Dev Aisha's character is his presentational skills and his nasty side. That sort of the Steve notes that Jobs was famous for, and that turned into a press conference in episode 2 off the top of my head. And we see his nasty side as well. But in The Sands of Ares we see Dev's engineering skills come to fore. It's his plan, a plan to tunnel under the buried Habitation 2 that gets Ed and Dan out of trouble. We see a gentler side of the man as well, a gentler side of the character, one that up until now we wouldn't have expected to see. Granted, part of that is the very good writing for this episode and the good directing, but equally part of that is the skill of the actor. Gathegi does a very good job as Dev Aisha. So, with all of that lot said, what did I see last night? What did I think of The Sands of Ares? I think I've seen another bloody superb episode, one that's a race against time to save 2 dying men. Granted, I may be overselling both For All Mankind and The Sands of Ares, but if that's what you're thinking, I'm going to disagree. I don't think I am. I'm watching a very good both series and episode. It's certainly one that's better than Series 2 from what I can remember of Series 2 of All Mankind. It's a very good series, it's a very good episode, and this 8th episode kept me glued to my seat, biting my nails again. Yes, I'm going to be doing it again. I am going to be watching more For All Mankind. Friday the 31st of March, just so you know, is when I'm going to be watching the next episode of Star Trek Picard, Dominion, and I'll have my written and video reviews of that on Saturday the 1st of April. I will be watching the next episode of For All Mankind, Coming Home, on Sunday the 2nd of April, and we'll have the written and video reviews up on Monday the 3rd. Let's not call it a date, let's call it you dripping in on me to see what I thought of this next episode. I will see you next week. Have fun, be good, take care, don't fall off the spud. Have a good week. Right, just as an answer to my earlier question, yes, there is a postscript, or possibly a footnote. Yes, this is it. And yes, it's a final thought. The BBC had a news report a few days ago now, on the 15th or thereabouts, I think, to tell us about their NASA's snazzy new spacesuits for their upcoming Artemis moon missions. Artemis, of course, being the Greek goddess of the moon, who was the twin sister to Apollo, the sun god. Apollo, Artemis, obviously, if you know your stuff, that's what's going on there. But at any rate, they unveiled their new suits, which, to be frank, look nothing like the ones in For All Mankind. Obviously, the designers for this have gone one way, the real-world physicists who make spacesuits have gone another. About the only thing they do have in common is there are similar, the Helios spacesuits and the new NASA suits are a similar sort of shades of darkish blue, but the Helios suits have various white highlighting. The NASA ones have got various bits of orange highlighting. They do both have similar pleated upper arms, though, if that's any interest.